about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Dali, 1-877-DOCDALI. So every day we are getting posts and updates from Elon Musk and the current administration on a lot of the waste, fraud, and abuse they're finding and what a lot of our tax dollar money has been going to. And for those of us who give blood, sweat, and tears to the government in the form of our tax money, there's been a big cry and call to get that money back. Now, I believe there was a CEO of an Azoria investment firm, suggesting that some of this money, this is James Fishback, come back to the taxpayers as a Doge dividend, either as a tax refund or, in terms of money. And so apparently he suggests that if Musk is cutting federal spending by $2 trillion out of a 6.75 trillion annual budget in the latest fiscal year that ended September 30th. And if that were met, if you just take 20% of that, which is $400 billion, that would approximate to $5,000 per household. So my question to you all is, should Americans get some of this money back? Should it be a tax refund or should it be a check? Now, I say yes, 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 and hell yes. And there's a bunch of reasons for this. One is when we keep hearing all this negativity of all this crap that's being, all this stuff that our money went to, it does help to bring a little bit of positivity, especially since you have a lot of individuals out there bucking Elon Musk and bucking what Doge is doing. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that we have millions of people on the Social Security list, even if they're not getting money. Our accounting is off because other departments use those numbers. So it shows that the government has been a cluster for a while now. But the other thing, too, is what I've noticed just from a psychological standpoint is when you see Congress pass bills for billions of dollars, you're like, I guess we don't see it. Now I'm going to go buy my Happy Meal or I'm going to whatever. And so, all right, well, I guess they're spending billions of dollars. That's just what they do. And so I worry that when Elon Musk is saying, look, we're saving you guys trillions, I don't feel it. Now, I know, me personally, that, yes, it is going to trickle down to us eventually. But you have midterms coming up in 2 years. You have then another presidential election in less than 4 years. So I think everybody learned in this election that voters a lot of times vote by their pockets. And I don't want anybody to be buying anybody's vote. I think, Obama sent out a lot of money. I think he sent out checks, and then Trump sent out stimulus checks. And that's not what this is. This is you paid taxes. You gave money for hospital infrastructure, for streets with no potholes, for national security, for local law enforcement. And if you are not feeling that money is going to where it needs to go, you're going to start to get grumpy and you're not going to want to pay taxes. We already have millions of people evading taxes and trying to figure out ways. That's why this no tax on tips is probably eventually going to go through, because many people hide their tip money because they don't have to claim it. And paying taxes is something that people are trying to do less of. And they're grumpy about it. And taxes aren't supposed to be a negative thing. Remember, I told you the whole purpose of the tax system was when you had a village or a town, you would be a farmer, you would be a dairy farmer. You over here might be in, carpentry. But somebody had to run the church. Somebody had to run the security, run the law enforcement, run the legal systems, make sure the roads were there. And So you don't have time for that. So you're like, look, I'll give you some money to manage all of that. And the process can work if there's no waste, fraud, and abuse. Well, we're seeing that, boy, did the government take advantage. So I like that Doge is looking into this. And if it's not Elon Musk, hopefully the people with it, honestly, who's supposed to be doing this are the people we're paying the salaries for. The people in the IRS, the people in the Social Security Department. These are people that should be doing it. It's just taking Elon Musk to light a fire up their butts. And so when the Americans are like, wow, we spent this money, wow, we saved this money, they're not seeing it. And if you really want to hit this idea home, that this administration is really about the citizen and the American and the taxes they're paying, then they need to feel it. So how do you feel a $2 trillion cut? Well, some of those tax dollars that don't need to be spent, you get back. And I think it's brilliant. You know, it's interesting. When I put a person on blood pressure medication or diabetes medication, it's always difficult with the illnesses when they don't feel it. A lot of people, they don't feel their blood pressure. I think some people can, but it's called the silent killer because people can't feel their blood pressure. So those individuals are more inclined to not keep up with their medication. But when you have an asthmatic or somebody with COPD, they feel it. And they are more inclined to be compliant with their medication regimen. So if you as a taxpayer are not feeling what your taxes are going for, you're not going to want to pay them. If you feel like you're being screwed over, but if you feel like, wait a second, I'm getting this money back, which I think might actually be something that we want to look at, where, look, you pay your taxes, whatever money wasn't spent, rather than it going into the politicians' pockets, you get it back. So if you want good streets and clean streets, and you don't litter and you help take care of the streets, you might get some of that money back. Now, I think there's something to this. Remember, I told you the best way to save on waste, fraud, and abuse in government departments is if you save the government money in your department, you get a little of it back. This is what I've been talking about now for years. That's kind of where this is coming from. So I think it's a good idea. 1-877 Dr. Daliah.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell our listeners who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me join you to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now and find out how much your case is potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. If you think you deserve compensation, call now to find out how much you qualify for. 800-710-5100.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to totalwellness.com. Supplements made for physicians, only now available to you too. totalwellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, YouTube, click like and subscribe. And of course, if you miss any of our shows, please go to drdaliah.com. Okay, so norovirus has been taking hold. The norovirus has been causing nausea and vomiting and fever and chills and some pretty bad. We got it bad this fall and winter on top of flu and on top of COVID. And so apparently Moderna has been working on a norovirus vaccine. I'm sure other pharmaceutical companies are too, which has been needed for a long time. In fact, a norovirus vaccine would be perfect for you to get prior to going on a cruise, because so many people get sick on these cruise ships because of norovirus. Well, we're being told that Moderna had to halt the study because of somebody getting a severe neurological side effect. Now, this neurological side effect does come with vaccines. It can also come with the illness itself. It's called Guillain-Barré. We've spoken about Guillain-Barré, where a cold or flu or virus or infection or vaccine could trigger your immune system to decide to fight your nervous system. And we had a friend of ours that actually became paralyzed. Thank God it was temporary. They were able to reverse it, but he still has neurological deficits. He had gotten a flu vaccine years ago and ended up getting Guillain-Barré, a very rare side effect to vaccines, but it is something that has to be looked at. And we obviously, when we make, because the whole concept of vaccine is actually brilliant. It originates from, ancient homeopathy, where what we're going to do is we're going to fight fire with fire, or we are going to train your body to get stronger. So we're going to introduce a piece and hopefully a weak or inactivated version of the pathogen, so that you turn around, or allergen or whatever, so that your body turns around and handles it better. And so in order for vaccines to work, you need to teach your immune system to recognize what it is and then be able to fight it. Well, sometimes remember, your immune system is very delicate. It's very brilliantly engineered, and something could set it off. I'm still blown away how we have so many peanut allergies now, where all we did was eat Skippy peanut butter growing up. Well, it might be that there's something these kids are getting exposed to that is now triggering their immune system to be more reactive to other things or similar things. So our immune system is very, very delicate. For us to have vaccines that help fight infection and disease is amazing. And I love that we have polio vaccine, hepatitis vaccines. I think this is fantastic. But sadly, there's been side effects that some people have reported. So we're being told that Moderna had their vaccine paused by the FDA in a late stage trial because there was a rare case of Guillain-Barré. Their vaccine is an mRNA vaccine, very similar to the COVID vaccines. It was put on clinical hold after one case of Guillain-Barré. Now, this is currently under investigation. We're not saying their vaccine necessarily caused it, but because somebody had Guillain-Barré, and also with these late stage trials, involve large portions of the population. So if you're already surrounded by flu and COVID and all sorts of things, there's a chance you could be getting Guillain-Barré because there's something else that triggered the immune system. But anytime a side effect happens while we're studying a medication, we have to assume it's the medication first. It has to be reported. It has to be listed. So right now that's on hold. We'll hear more about that. But what has been making the rounds in the news is the idea of the COVID vaccines being halted. So there's been an online position led by a physician. His name is Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, and he has been nominated to lead the National Institutes of Health. He backed this petition calling for mRNA vaccines to be paused and retested. He is one of the signatories of Hope Accord, which claims that there is a casual link between the mRNA shots and an alarming rise in excess deaths worldwide. Now, RFK Jr., being that he has some vaccine hesitancy, this might allow a pause and a break in let's go back, let's look at the science, and let's figure out what's going on. Now, as a physician, I am always supporting to always reevaluate the science. I know Mitch McConnell said we don't need to relitigate vaccine safety. We don't need to we always need to relook at things. We're going to be talking about how Diet Coke or your diet soda can be linked to heart disease. Again, I know everybody says diet soda is safe. We keep getting newer and newer data saying hold the phone. I pump the brakes on that. So I got the COVID vaccine. My kids, my family got the COVID vaccine. I would not have given it to them if I thought it was going to hurt them. But do I think that some people had severe side effects, if not died from the vaccine? Of course. There was news. There was a doctor who died of ITP. He started losing his clotting factors, and then he ended up dying of a brain hemorrhage. So everything has side effects. You cannot be a doctor, and I understand there's going to be a lot of social media that's going to try to shadow ban this or censor me on this, but everything has a side effect, even acetaminophen, even ibuprofen. Everything can have a side effect. And so we need to identify who is more inclined to get those side effects, what those side effects are, and we have to weigh the benefits versus the risks. When COVID appeared to be killing millions of people, I looked at that as there's more benefit to taking the vaccine than the risk. And I was more fearful of China than I was Pfizer. And that's why I ended up getting the vaccine. But do the vaccines need to be studied more? Do we need to look to see if there was a rise in excess deaths? And there have been report after report saying that the numbers are not necessarily matching up in terms of lives saved versus what if this is increased heart disease or increased other? I think absolutely we should look at it. Why not? Now, where it's going to get controversial is, do you pause giving out the vaccine? If there's a human that wants the vaccine, should they still be able to get it? Now, what, thank God, has been paused is the mandate. The mandate's done. We lost a lot of servicemen and women that got fired. We lost a lot of nurses and doctors. People got fired because they wouldn't get the vaccine. Thank God that BS is done, which I will disagree with as the day is long. I support there being vaccines. I support us having a vaccine, but never mandate it like you did. That was flipping ridiculous. And now we're seeing a lot of, there's a lot of younger individuals that are dying of heart disease. I understand we have, crappy food out there and food preservatives, but this is what RFK Jr.'s job is supposed to be. Why are we having younger people die? Why are we seeing cancer in younger people? Why are we seeing things that should be old people problems or senior diseases happening in younger populations? Is it also because people don't go to the doctor anymore? They don't go for their physicals. When I was a kid, I understand we couldn't really afford to go to the doctor, and I had ear infections, so I ended up going to the doctor. But I remember you had to go to the pediatrician for a checkup. And I'm talking to parents where their kid hasn't seen a doctor since they were 4. And now they're 17. And I'm like, so who's been managing the asthma? Who's been managing this? Well, we do it over the phone. So I think there's a lot of things that could be contributing to our increase in morbidity and mortality. But if our vaccine use may be playing a role, we need to investigate it. We need to look at it. Now, COVID can still kill. There are some people still dying of COVID. Thank God it's not like the way it was in 2020. But I do want to make sure that people do have access to the vaccine if their doctor and them think that's the best thing for them. But look at what happened in Canada, where they had to come out and say, hey, for those of you men who are, adolescents or young men, don't get the Moderna shot, get the Pfizer because of the increased risk of myocarditis. That was fine. And I'm glad they did that. Did we do it in America? No. Get your shot. Get your shot. I had a friend of mine whose son had severe chest pain, and it's like right after getting the vaccine. Yeah, these are things that scare parents. And the biggest tragedy of what happened during COVID is the lack of trust of public health officials. Anytime I try to quote the CDC or the NIH, patients tell me to blow it out my butt. Can you blame them after what happened? And so if the CDC says you need to get this vaccine and a parent says, can I look at the side effects? Can I see if there's something that could hurt my child? Am I going to regret this? Rather than being, told you're going to lose your child in a custody battle or you're loony or whatever, the CDC should respond with, here's some data. And here's links to data that you could look at on your own. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. 1-877 Doc Daliah. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877 DOCDALI. So I have a sweet tooth. I love sweet. I love sugar. I really love sugar. It's my downfall. Now, look, I don't do drugs. Hey, I don't have a lot of vices, but I like my sugar. But when I want to lose weight, I remember all the commercials in the 80s of, I think it was Cheryl Tiegs and Christy Brinkley and all of them looking all skinny in bathing suits because they would be drinking their diet soda or their Pepsi Free or Tab or Diet Shasta. Remember, don't give me that soda or Tab or whatever. And they would drink the diet soda, even though diet soda came out in the 70s. I just remember the commercials in the 80s. And I'm like, oh, so I could drink soda and look like them. I mean, when you're a little girl, you're looking at this going, okay, well, I'll do that. But I never drank a lot of soda because I didn't have the money to. And when I waited tables, I did because I used it for the caffeine, etc. But I found that when I drank diet soda, I would get hungrier. I just would get more hungry. And the reason why is these artificial sweeteners are they're like 30 to 100 to 1,000 times more sweet than regular granulated sugar, that you end up stimulating your insulin. Your insulin thinks something major sugary is coming down the pike, and your insulin is a hormone in your pancreas. So it picks up from the tongue and the brain signals, wow, guys, a lot of sugar's coming. So I don't know if it's cotton candy. I don't know if it's cake, Tootsie Roll, whatever. You got some sugar, you better be ready. So the pancreas releases a lot of insulin, and that insulin, which is kind of like a key to the door to bring the sugar from the bloodstream into the cell, right? Or a hallway into a room. It's like the key to the door. That insulin is on standby. So now Diet Coke is dripping down your gullet, and the insulin's like, all right, guys, hold. Food's coming. Hold, and no food is coming. Now, sometimes that diet soda might be followed with a Big Mac and fries, but with people grabbing diet drinks and maybe not eating at the time, there's nothing coming down except diet soda. They're like, well, where's the sugar? Where's the sugar? And insulin works on sugar. They're not seeing sugar because the diet soda has an artificial chemical, an artificial sweetener. So now you have all this insulin dressed up and no place to party. So they're going to party. Still, they're like, well, we're out and about. Just find whatever sugar there is and hook up with them. Like, yeah, there's got to be some sexy sugar around here somewhere. And their hair is all slicked back, cologne on. They're all ready to go. So whatever circulating sugar from a previous meal is out there, or any meal, it sucks that sugar up. So you actually start to get hypoglycemic. And you really feel sugar drops when you drink a diet soda or diet sugarless gum, sugar-free gum, or sugar-free Red Bull. So we have looked at study after study on, are these artificial sweeteners safe? Some have linked them to diabetes. Some have linked them to cancer. Some have linked them to heart disease and stroke. Well, we have another study that's come out linking just a few cans of diet soda a day to increase your risk of stroke and heart attack. Why? Because the aspartame. The aspartame, which is a commonly used artificial sweetener used in Diet Coke, candy, ketchup, could cause a buildup of fat in the arteries. The fat deposits cause arteriosclerosis, which causes arterial narrowing. It clogs up the arteries. You're not getting enough blood flow to the heart. And if any of these plaques break off, it could tear the intimal lining or the delicate lining of the blood vessel. You get then a bunch of cells to try to clot it up so it doesn't bleed. And now you end up having a huge traffic jam in the artery and you lose blood flow. So this fatty plaque that aspartame could contribute to is dangerous. Now, the study, from what we're being told, was done on mice. But the authors say their findings had worrying implications about how widespread artificial sweeteners are. Now, the scientists were from the Karolinska Institute. They worked with colleagues in China and the U.S. They fed groups of rodents a daily diet containing small amounts of aspartame for 12 weeks. They described this as being equivalent to a human drinking 3 cans of diet soda each day. I would not recommend you drink even one. If you want to have a little bit once in a while, but if you're drinking that every day, that's an issue. So they then looked at the mice's tissues and compared the group that got aspartame to the one that didn't. And the aspartame-fed mice had developed more fatty plaques in their arteries and at higher levels of inflammation. It's a simple test. Maybe not simple because the mice, probably died to look at their arteries. But you have the same diet, same mice with similar genetics, because I get it. If somebody came from one family that had high cholesterol, but if they used mice or twins or brothers or sisters or of the same litter and gave them diets that only differed in aspartame, that's a pretty significant study. The study was published in the journal Cell Metabolism, and they said the pathophysiological mechanism was an increased production in the protein called CX3CL1. This protein acts like a glue to the inner line of the blood vessels, helping plaque build up. And, diet soda is kind of sticky. I know sugary is sticky, but I think diet soda gets really sticky. I know this because I've had soda cans explode in my car and then get up into the CD player when we used to have CD players in our cars. And then I would bring the car in, say, my CD player's not working. And they would look and they go, it's your soda. Really? How did you know that? Because we see the dried soda. It stuck it all up. So, I don't want to panic you. And here's the thing. I understand. Listen, we talk about everything on this show. Okay, it's not as just do what I do what I say, and don't ask questions. I get that a lot of you are trying to lose weight. I get a lot of you are trying to get off coffee. I get a lot of you do not want to drink regular soda, or you're trying to give yourself an energy boost. Nobody drinks diet soda because they like the taste. I think diet soda tastes like battery acid. Regular Coca-Cola, especially in a bottle like Mexican Coca-Cola, yum. But I'm not going to drink that because of the sugar and the high fructose corn syrup, which, by the way, I think RFK Jr. might reverse. I think he wants to get rid of high fructose corn syrup and go back to the original sugar because of how dangerous high fructose corn syrup is. That's going to be fascinating. I got to look a little bit more into that. But I understand that you guys are trying to alter some bad habits by substituting with something that you think is the lesser of two evils. I get that. But you need to understand that the lesser of two evils can still be evil. And any amount of evil can wreak havoc on your body. So talk to your medical provider. Read up on the data. I'm very happy that we have access to studies, and hopefully we'll get more of that under the Department of Health and Human Services, because RFK wants to add that, more access to studies so we could do our own learning and deducing. But we go, I can't believe how much artificial stuff I go to and I eat. I don't mean to, but taking my husband to a nice restaurant. It's my son's birthday coming up, and my husband, they kind of have a joint birthday, but we always kind of celebrate just my son, so we try to anyway. But when we go out to eat, the food is so tasty, but it's so salty, and there's preservatives. I used to work in restaurants. I had to take the food out of the freezer and out of the packaging and out of I know we're exposed. Try to get as fresh as you can from the grocery store, but really look at what you're doing in terms of what you're drinking each day, because 3 cans of soda pop, yeah, I think it can lead to a heart attack and stroke. 1-877 Doc Daliah.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-910-7500. That's 800-910-7500. Call now to find out how much your case could be worth.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians, only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So the left says that Donald Trump is going to cut Social Security benefits and leave seniors out in the cold. I have not seen any evidence to that. In fact, he had said on a news interview with Sean Hannity that no, Social Security is not going to be touched unless, of course, there's fraud or something. It's going to be strengthened, but they're not going to cut Social Security. That's something. In fact, he's been the one saying he wants to not tax Social Security, which I hope really does end up coming to fruition, because I think it's ridiculous that you pay taxes on Social Security. Social Security for some people is only what, $2,700 a month. It's hardly anything. So and you're gonna, on top of that, take more money away for taxes. So I think that's just a lot of rhetoric from the left. In terms of Medicare and Medicaid, he said he's not going to be cutting Medicare or Medicaid. He said if there are illegal migrants in the system, we're going to get them out. So somebody is illegally in our country getting public benefits, that he might stop, as other countries do. Again, just get them to go through the legal process, have them apply. And then while they're going through that process, they could then, I mean, when my family came here, they got a visa, they went through the process, they very quickly, they wanted to make sure they didn't, it expired. They immediately started studying for their citizenship test, started learning the language, learning English. And back in the Holocaust times, you didn't really get to learn English. Now every country teaches English, or most countries do. But they got to work so that they could become citizens and then be safe and here. And so we have to figure out how to turn an illegal immigrant into a legal one without letting them cut the line and hurt other legal migrants trying to do the process correctly. In terms of Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare, sadly, there is a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse. Every now and then we hear of some doctors or some clinics or some agency completely screw taxpayers over by BS that they're doing. Billing for stupid. I don't know why anybody would try to defraud the government. They will find you. Unless, of course, you're on their side, it appears. You hear some of the BS that people were doing. You're really going to pretend that you saw a patient that didn't exist for money? Really? It's not worth it. You go to jail. So if there is fraud, yes. And my guess is there's a lot of it. Social Security, if we have people who are supposedly dead and they're still collecting checks, it could be that some of the checks aren't being cashed. But if there is a person cashing a check that's not for them, they go to jail. That's the law. So, I love strategy. Not only am I a physician, but I've done PR and marketing. And I'm seeing the Democrats flail. And I don't want to see any political party fall apart. I don't want to see any political party go away, because what makes our country great is that we're not a single party, where we welcome multiple ideas, multiple parties, and that freedom to be able to come up with checks and balances and come up with bipartisan efforts. I think that's one of the greatest pieces to our democracy. But what sadly the Democrats have done is let them be stereotyped and labeled as extremists. The Republicans were labeled as that, but they fought that off because non-extremist people were going, what are you talking about? This is kind of common sense. You need a border. I can't go to Germany or Japan and walk across the border and get all this government aid. So what the Republicans did to fight the extremism accusations is they brought up common sense. Now, if your kids are failing in school and they're not learning reading and writing, then let's improve their education. These are common sense things. So what could the Democrats do to incorporate common sense? Because right now the Republicans are owning common sense, and the Democrats aren't liking that. And a lot of Democrats have fantastic, ideas. I think there's, Democrats try to say that the Republicans just want to kill off the environment. They don't. There's a lot of Republicans that love the environment too. There's a lot of bipartisan approaches to things. But when it comes time to elections, it's not sexy when you hear somebody say, you know what, the Republicans were right, and I, as a Democrat, am going to work with the Republicans. Now, I know some candidates got reelected because they said, look, I work with the Republicans. We're bipartisan. They were reading the writing on the wall. And they were like, look, we're going to be more moderate. We're not going to be, so far left that we're going to. But what I think the Democrats need to do now is, if they want to be successful in upcoming elections, is one, read the room. Now, if the room wants better public safety, then don't defund the police. If the room wants better education, right, then don't be allowing teachers to be bringing up sex toys and things like that in the classrooms. Have some standards, or having a kid, like what happened in Las Vegas, have to do this monologue in front of a male student while staring at his groin and talking about penetrating sex and how she doesn't want that with him because she's lesbian. These are things that kids and parents don't want. Read the room. If parents don't want a biological male in the shower or girl's bathroom, read the room. And I understand that there's polls, and it might be 60-30 or 90-20 or whatever, but they're losing their base. And I come from a family and friends and all that are very, very mixed. We have Kennedy Democrats, Clinton Democrats, Reagan Republicans, Trump Republicans. We have a variety of everybody. But even they go, look, can we just do some common sense? If it costs 3 cents to make a penny, we probably don't need to be making pennies. If we're paying government workers who aren't working, or contracts that expired years ago, stop paying those. But everybody wants to make it sound like, Trump's a fascist. In fact, I think Jon Stewart said, will you guys stop using that term? You use it so much that when he's doing something constitutionally correct, if we ever do need to use that word, it's been overused now. Because Democrats are wanting talking points. If I was a Democrat running for the next election, I would be going to my constituents saying, what is it that you need? You want stronger schools. You want stronger public safety. You want water in your fire hydrants in case there's a fire. You want, you want your Social Security increase. You want, and this is what I stand for. Whether there's an R or a D next to my name, this is what I'm going to do. You should be voting for the person, not the party. And I understand along party lines, they need everybody to fall into place. But if you were, a congressman or senator, you're representing your state or your district. So find out what it is they want, find out what it is they need, and tell them this is what you're going to do, even if it's not a part of the stereotypical platform. 1-877-Daliah.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.